If you know that something works for you, don't get discouraged from sharing that information or further pursuing that information just because it doesn't fit into the mold of what the experts or the people at the top of whatever field you're in consider that to be. For example, I've talked about this before in regards to speed work and strength and how they correlate to me as opposed to how they correlate to most other people. You'll always hear, Dave Tate, Louis, other people who are practitioners of the West Side Method, very fast people, very scientific. Speed has a direct correlation to strength, and they know that if they want to get stronger, they have to get faster. And that's how they approach training, as far as I perceive it, from what I've seen. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, their approach is speed has a direct correlation to strength. The faster you are, the stronger you are. Or the faster you are, maybe not necessarily the stronger you are, but if you can complete a lift faster, you can outrun your strain or the limit that you have on your strain. Me, for example, I never viewed speed as something that I needed to build, increase, make better. Speed to me was always an indication of my strength. For example, if I had to work up to a max effort lift on a particular day, and let's say a squat, and I'm starting to get up to weights to where you actually have to try, you have to focus. You're getting up in that 85, 90, 95% range, closing in on that max. And if I come in there in a particular day and the weight is just popping out of the hole, it's banging. As soon as I decide to go up, that weight is moving. That's an indication to me through bar speed that I am strong that day. And it's not because I trained speed to get that way. I use speed as an indicator of my strength. Now, to flip it, if we were to go in on the same day, do the same exercises, and I'm creeping up on that 85, 90, 95% range of my one rep max in that particular lift, and the bar speed is slow, I don't necessarily judge it off those 1 or 2 reps. I could very well be not engaged as much as I need to, not focus on my technique, not focus on my energy and my mental focus. So if, as I'm going up through the attempts and the reps and the sets, if the bar speed continues to slow down, I would take a step back, use a little bit of emotion, a little bit of psych, and if that bar speed still didn't increase, it was still just kind of a slow grind and a shit show, I know that my strength is down, and I either need to figure out where in my lift was technique breaking down, or where did my weaknesses shine through, and then attack those weaknesses in my accessories, or just take that as an indicator. If the whole lift looks solid, technique didn't break down, I was just slow, that's an indicator that maybe it's time to back down, maybe take a down week, and proceed from there. So speed to me was never something that I tried to build. Speed to me was an indicator of strength. Also, on Dynamic Effort Day to me personally was never about speed. It was never about building speed. In the beginning, when I tried to be fast on box squats or deadlifts or bench, I couldn't break the habit of losing my technique trying to be explosive off the box. If I was trying 100% to be as explosive as I could, I just couldn't hold my technique. You'd sit down on the box, probably a little, not crashing to the box, but you're probably sitting a little harder, and when you sit back, your hips roll, and which is not necessarily a good thing. If you get loose in your brace and you roll your hips, that's your lower back moving under load, which is what you don't want, which might explain my back. But dynamic effort for me was never about getting faster. It was about cardio. It was about conditioning. It was about building a huge gas tank. How many sets and reps could I do with as little amount of rest, and progressively through the weeks, months, years, increase that weight slowly, and then still having the same desired effect, the same speed of the amount of time, or not speed, but the same amount of work done in an amount of time. That to me was how I built up a really big gas tank. Once I started doing conjugate later in my career, when my weights were at their absolute heaviest and I was lifting the best numbers that I've ever lifted before, I felt refreshed after my third deadlift. Now, when we go into deadlifts and it's my warm-ups and my opener, my deadlifts felt fresh, amazing. I remember the first WPO I did, that meet didn't get done till like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I mean, from what I remember, there was technical difficulties that delayed the meet, and we didn't finish till about 10:30. And then I remember eating at like 11:30, and I still felt good. I mean, it was 11:30, I've been up since like 6-ish, and then a full day of competing. And the following day, I felt so good. The following day on Sunday, I went and did dynamic effort lower, and continued to feel good. So the dynamic effort work for me built my endurance, my gas tank, and it was never about speed for me. So if you are someone who operates outside the normal boundaries of what is considered normal or expected of a movement, a method, a technique, as long as it makes sense to you and you can identify why it works for you and it makes you better and more efficient, then why would you not want to continue to do those things? So basically what I'm saying is, once you identify what works for you, identify why it works for you, and continue to do it. And don't be intimidated by what other people might have to say about it. At the end of the day, you are trying to make yourself stronger. And if you've identified a way to do that, continue.